What was meant to be a soft, joyful moment for a child instead became one of the most emotionally explosive chapters in Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert's already fractured story. A birthday is supposed to feel safe. It is meant to be one of the few days untouched by adult conflict, especially when parents are no longer together. It is a moment meant to belong entirely to a child, wrapped in laughter, cake, and simple happiness. But when emotions are still raw, boundaries remain unclear, and wounds are far from healed, even a celebration can turn into a battleground. When Iman unexpectedly showed up, everything Teyana had been holding inside seemed to break loose all at once. From the outside, people often underestimate how heavy birthdays feel after a breakup. They are not just milestones for a child. They are reminders of what once was. Shared memories, old traditions, photographs that now feel like ghosts of a life that no longer exists. For Teyana, this birthday was never just about balloons and cake. It was about control, about safety, about trying to create one space where things did not feel complicated. A space where her daughter could smile without tension hanging in the air. That is why Iman's appearance hit so hard. According to those close to the situation, there were unspoken expectations about how co-parenting would function, especially during public moments. This was not about denying love or access. It was about boundaries, about communication, about knowing when presence brings peace and when it brings disruption. When Iman arrived without that emotional alignment, it did not feel like a surprise visit. It felt like an intrusion. Teyana did not explode because of one isolated moment. She exploded because of everything that came before it. Months of silence, misunderstandings, feeling unheard, feeling as though her emotional labor was once again being dismissed. That kind of pressure does not disappear just because you are holding a birthday cake. It settles beneath the surface, waiting for the smallest crack to escape through. And when it finally did, it came out sharp, emotional, and unapologetic. Witnesses say the energy in the room shifted instantly. What had been light suddenly felt heavy. Conversations paused. Smiles froze. A kind of tension filled the space that did not need words to announce itself. Teyana's reaction was not rehearsed. It was not calculated. It was raw. And that rawness is what shocked people the most. Her words, "Stay out of our lives," landed like a thunderclap. To some, the phrase sounded harsh, final, almost cruel. To others, it sounded like the cry of someone who had been pushed past her emotional limit. Context matters. But context is often the first thing lost when moments like this go public. Fans heard the words and immediately took sides without fully understanding the years of emotional buildup behind them. Social media, as always, did not wait for clarity. Within hours, clips, captions, and interpretations flooded timelines. Some painted Teyana as controlling, accusing her of weaponizing access to her own child. Others defended her fiercely, arguing that boundaries are not cruelty. They are survival. The internet thrives on extremes, and this situation fed directly into that hunger. Iman, notably, did not respond right away. Once again, his silence became its own controversy. People questioned his intentions. Was he genuinely trying to reconnect? Or was this another moment where timing and communication failed? Silence can look calm, but it can also look dismissive, depending on who is watching. What made this moment different from previous drama was the presence of the child. Fans who had followed their love story for years suddenly felt protective, not of either adult, but of the innocent space that felt violated. People stopped asking who was right and started asking who was being hurt the most by the ongoing conflict. For Teyana, that concern likely mirrored her own fear. When you are a parent navigating separation, control is not about power. It is about predictability, knowing who will show up, when they will show up, and how. Children thrive on emotional consistency, especially when family structures change. Any unexpected shift can feel destabilizing, not only for the child, but for the parent trying to hold everything together. That is why her reaction felt so intense. It was not about shutting Iman out of fatherhood. It was about protecting emotional ground she felt had been crossed repeatedly without discussion or respect. Still, emotions do not exist in isolation. Iman's supporters argued that showing up for his daughter should never be framed as wrongdoing. They questioned why presence was interpreted as disruption. And within that debate lies the core conflict. Two people interpreting the same moment through completely different emotional lenses. This was not just a birthday incident. It was a collision of unresolved pain. Old wounds resurfaced quickly. Fans began rewatching old interviews, reality show clips, and social media moments, searching for signs they might have missed. Jokes that once felt playful now felt loaded. Moments of silence suddenly felt intentional. The story of their marriage began rewriting itself in hindsight, as it so often does when love ends publicly. Fame only complicated everything further. In a private life, this would have been a difficult but contained moment. A heated argument. Tears behind closed doors. Hard conversations away from judgment. But in the public eye, it became a headline. A moment frozen and replayed without the full emotional context that led to it. Teyana's frustration was not only about Iman. It was about constantly managing perception while navigating real pain. Every reaction she had was analyzed. Every boundary questioned. At some point, restraint turns into exhaustion. That exhaustion showed. Fans noticed a shift in her tone afterward. Less measured. More guarded. Less concerned with appearing graceful, and more focused on being clear. When she expressed the need for distance, it was not framed delicately. It was framed urgently, as if she were saying, "I can't keep doing this halfway." The phrase "stay out of our lives" scared people because it sounded permanent. But emotionally, permanence is often how pain speaks when it feels unheard. It is not always a final decision. Sometimes, it is a desperate plea for space. Iman's continued quiet response added another layer of tension. Some interpreted it as maturity. Others saw it as avoidance. But one thing was undeniable. Communication between them had broken down completely. And when communication dies, conflict speaks instead. What makes this situation especially heartbreaking is that both sides appear to be hurting for different reasons. Teyana feels protective, overwhelmed, and emotionally depleted. Iman likely feels pushed out, misunderstood, and stripped of moments he believes he deserves as a father. Both realities can exist at the same time. And that is what makes co-parenting after love so painfully complex. Children do not understand adult boundaries. They understand presence, tone, and emotional energy. Moments like this carry consequences far beyond headlines. And for once, fans seem to recognize that. Many stopped arguing about blame and started questioning whether constant public dissection was doing more harm than good, because healing does not happen under a spotlight. This incident changed how people viewed their post-marriage dynamic. It no longer felt like a slow, manageable separation. It felt volatile, fragile, like one wrong move could turn another private moment into public chaos. Trust, already thin, appeared to erode even further. Could this be fixed? Possibly, but only if both sides choose communication over reaction and privacy over performance. Without that, moments like this will not be the last. They will become the pattern. In the end, this moment was never truly about a birthday being interrupted or a celebration going wrong. It was about emotional boundaries being crossed at a time when everyone involved was already fragile. It was about unresolved pain rising to the surface, louder and more forceful than any carefully planned intention. When emotions remain buried for too long, they do not emerge calmly. They come out raw, messy, and impossible to ignore. That is exactly what unfolded in front of the public eye. What people witnessed was not just another viral clip designed to spark debate. It was two individuals navigating the heavy weight of shared history, complicated emotions, and the responsibility of parenthood, all while knowing the world was watching and judging every reaction. In moments like these, love and resentment do not exist separately. They collide. And when they do, even small actions can feel like deep betrayals, reopening wounds that never fully healed. This was not anger for attention. It was grief. Grief for a family structure that once existed and now feels permanently broken. Grief for a sense of peace that still feels just out of reach. And grief, when it finally speaks, rarely sounds calm or respectful. It speaks through frustration, raised voices, and emotional outbursts because it carries years of unspoken hurt. Healing does not follow a timeline. especially when children, memories, and public pressure are involved. Whether time will ease this conflict or deepen the distance remains unclear. But one thing is certain: this moment marked a turning point. A line was drawn. And once lines are drawn publicly, they are difficult to erase. The real question is not who was right or wrong, but whether healing is still possible, and whether both sides can put pride aside to protect what matters most: the emotional safety of the child.